You're watching ABC36 News Now. Good afternoon, Kentucky, with Jane Davenport and Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shock.
Welcome back, friends. Well, veteran sports writer Jerry Tipton has been covering Kentucky basketball for the past 41 seasons. It's incredible. He's now got a book of his own called Déjà Blue, where he reflects on his time being a sports writer for UK basketball. And he's here with us today.
Absolutely. Jerry Tipton. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Before we dive into the book, of course, having covered Kentucky basketball as long as you have, what about the new hire?
Yes.
Well, I think, that there's a cliche about winning the press conference, and I think Mark Pope won the press conference. A big crowd and a lot of cheering, and it felt like he hit the right notes. So, and he knows Kentucky basketball. He played here, as we all know, and he's been a head coach in this era of transfer portal and all of that. So, it'll be interesting to see. I expect him to be successful.
Well, and he was successful with BYU, too, with very limited resources there compared to what he's going to have here at Kentucky. How do you think that's going to affect
the analogy I would use would be to horse racing, to give you a Kentucky analogy. Because, I think the University of Kentucky men's basketball, that's like secretariat.
Right.
It's an advantage for the jockey. The jockey's going to look better riding secretariat. And, there are other big programs, but so he's going to be riding a championship horse.
Yes, he is. That's for sure. Well, okay, let's talk about your book, Déjà Blue. Tell us what folks can expect from the book.
Well, it was a lot of anxiety involved with it because writing a newspaper story, I had plenty of experience with that, and I had, on occasion, anxiety there. But a book was a whole new experience, and a lot of anxiety about, can I do this?
Yeah.
And then once I convinced myself, 41 seasons of covering something that's hardly ever boring, I would say never boring. Okay, now the next anxiety was, okay, how do I do it? And so I got through that, and I tried to make it more than just me. And so I talked to over 40 people to get their memories and thoughts about my time and their time at Kentucky and around Kentucky basketball. So it ended up, I think, I'm okay with it, and I'm hoping it's well received.
Yeah, I'm sure it will
Well,
be.
and you did this for so many years, and we were kind of talking about it off air. You've had some interesting exchanges with some of the coaches during the course of time, and I'm sure it's in the book. But do you feel like even if you got heat from the fans from asking those questions, that you were actually the person that is sitting in that chair, that the folks that are reading your article, you're asking the tough questions that they would want to know?
Well, yeah, I somehow got that reputation for asking hard questions. And I wasn't trying to ask hard questions. I was trying to ask what I thought were good questions. And I would usually have the reader in mind. Like, whatever the press conference was for, what the reader might be thinking or might be asking. So that's what, it wasn't a personal thing of like trying to pin somebody against a wall or something. I was just trying to help the story. And there's a chapter entitled Hard Questions.
Oh, interesting. I love it. And you know what? I have to ask you, what Cats team was your favorite Cats team over the years? Would you say? Who would you say is the very best?
Well, I'll tell you, the season that stands out from all the rest was, this may surprise you, Rick Pitino's first season. Because they were on probation.
All the sanctions.
And all the sanctions. There was absolutely no expectations, which is, as you know, highly unusual for Kentucky basketball. And I thought the fans had fun. It wasn't about conquering the other team. It wasn't about showing Kentucky's superiority. It was just fun. And I really, it stands out for that reason.
I love that.
One more quick thing before we wrap it up here. What's your best memory, and also how has things changed from the old days when you first started to now? What's the best thing that has changed for college basketball, and what's the worst? Tough question, I know.
Well, yeah, in my career, there's a lot of things that stand out, which was helpful. That kind of eased my anxiety about writing a book, how, can I, they wanted over 200 pages, which I succeeded. The job has changed dramatically. College basketball, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
It's changed dramatically.
It really has.
And I've heard coaches say more recently that, and I don't hear people talk about this enough, I don't think, parity. I think there's, the coaches I've heard say that the pool of good players is much larger than it used to be.
Are you a fan of the portal?
The portal, I think the fans are not.
Yeah.
Although if you get a Dalton Connect from the University of Northern Colorado, I think that would meet with approval.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I liked it better this is just me, in the olden days, like the fans do, that when you got more of a bond with the player. You got to know the player to some degree over 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Now it's, as we know, one and done. It'll be interesting with Mark Pope how reliant he is on one and done players.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think it's hard for a coach to say, no, I don't think I'll recruit the very best high school players.
Exactly.
Even though that the possibility is there of one and done.
It's going to be really interesting.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to definitely to read the book.
Absolutely. And where can people find the book, speaking of which?
Well, right now, we're having a launch on May 14th at the Carnegie Center from 5 to 7.
Oh, good.
So it'll be available there.
Okay.
It's also available now to order, and pardon me, on online at Amazon.
Okay.
And also acclaimpress.com /books/Déjà Blue.
Okay.
And Déjà Blue is DEJA-BLUE. Now, I also, the other day, I have too much free time in retirement, I Googled my name and book, and the first response was Amazon. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, for everyone out there that wants to get the book, it's going to be available. You've got to go to Amazon. You can Google him. You'll come up with it. Jerry Tipton, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. All right, we'll be right back.